So this making of video is about rotoscoping, about short film called Used Tissues. It's Used Tissues is a dark comedy. So it's about the chain reaction that occurs when people start boycotting the use of paper tissues, which eventually leads to nuclear disaster. You can see I already have the poster of the short film, so it's in the phase of post-production. However, it's a very special type of film. I would say it's rather an animation type of animation. We call it pixelation. You can check Wikipedia, so you can see here. So the pixelation is based on real photography footages. So we had a shooting, but we don't use real location. It was the studio shooting, because the story is very international, so we should have a lot of locations, big cities and other special environments. Visual effects, green screens, so we have to key the green screens. That led us to the rotoscoping, and that shot what I'm talking about is about kind of a big city, environment. For example, New York, Fifth Avenue or something like that. I have this post-visualization of the film, so you can see there are a lot of elements already shot. This is the shot actually. So the background is not exists, just a kind of a storyboard picture, and what we have to do is to make it real. So it's a animation type of pixelation, as I mentioned, but I really want a realistic, photorealistic. So kind of a I want to have the audience kind of real movie experience. How we can do that? Actually, we have to rely on real footages, real photography, and so on. So that's why when we are processing those real footages, elements, whatever, we basically have to have a lot of image manipulation and the rotoscoping as well. Fortunately, I wrote my university thesis on the topic of urban transportation. So I had a lot of recordings about urban traffic. So it was very interesting and kind of depressing that when I realized what I expected, the occupancy rate of passenger cars is less than 25% in terms of passengers. Really off topic, so sorry about that.
Don't bust my balls for that.
Don't forget to subscribe. Let's dig in. So let's start with Blender and visual effects. Actually, the masking is what we are looking for. I don't want to compositing at the moment. So use this part, the movie clip editor. And I'm going to open footage. Actually, it's a compressed video file. And movie clip editor is about tracking and rotoscoping. Editor to deal with video clips, movies, footages. Yeah, and you can switch to tracking here. And obviously, I should find an element I want to separate. So I just went through a couple of times, and obviously there are a lot of cars here. So I think this car, however, yeah, you can see here is this also a little bit missing. But in visual effects, we can deal with this type of stuff, or we can find another ones. It's quite a long footage, is around 3 minutes. So I believe it's 25 frames per sec. The movie clip editor tells us the basic information. So it's an HD 25 frames per sec. So project should be the same. Not necessarily feel more comfortable if I have this. I'm going to use the name of that footage to name the Blender file. Well, maybe it's not the best naming convention for that. It will be fine. So Roto version 1. So masking. So the first, as I mentioned, try to find the oh, this is interesting stuff as well. This car, this car which is starts right from the beginning, and it's a very simple shape, so we can practice this. What is rotoscoping anyway? You can find a lot of resources on the net, and my favorite is Vox Rotoscoping. This is quite
This walrus didn't get these dance
quite
moves on his own.
impressive and short video about how it started, and it's actually about rather the animation part. However, rotoscoping is all over the place, so it's really connected to the to the general filmmaking, visual effects technique. Look around like rotoscoping, visual effects. However, it's a very simple scenario. I wanted to start with this, and because of the perspective, it's constantly changing. But that's Roto is about. We have two type of masks, two type of shapes as a starting point. However, we can draw shapes by holding the control key as well. You can use the 2D cursor to place the shape wherever you want. This is a side note because when I recorded this making of video, I wasn't really aware of that. However, you will see the impact on geopolitics and things like that. So this is the Shift A add shapes, and it because we have this 2D cursor because it's a 2D space creating. Another thing what we have to know, so this is the footage, and we are using the mask. It's a hierarchical level data. At the top we have the mask. So I can call it different ways, and but it's not definitive because it's just one car or more cars. You should name this car, let's say car Opel. Okay, because we can use layers in masking. So there is this somewhere here, this area mask, and there's mask layers. And what does it mean? You can separate the mask itself to layers. And why is that? I'm going to show you soon, because it's easier to think about. So it's a basic stuff what we can use here. Actually, we use the G for grab, so moving, and also we can use rotate if it's more than, I believe it's more than one control vertex. Yes, we can use rotate and so on. So the basic transformations are the same, short keys. And also the point or control vertex handle times is the same, so we can use V for set. We can use control click on the line, the curve, and create another vertex. And we should follow one very basic rule. The lower amount of control vertex we are using, the less pain in the ass, I would say, because more control vertex means you have more things to animate. And I'm not sure here because it's not very crystal clear or sharp, the footage. And I'm going to tell you what to do with these type of use so-called feather, which means we can have soft blurred edges, but it raises another problem, which is a serious one: how to deal with semi-transparent pixels. This is the hardest part in general speaking, not just rotoscoping, keying and other areas situation when you want to separate elements. So yeah, this is the basic tools. Trying to focus to have limited amount of control vertices. So this is just one frame, obviously. If we go with the left and right arrows, and scrap back and forth the animation footage. So yeah, maybe this is the time to save and save a new version, maybe. So what we can do is just to get this part of the footage. So it starts around 2075 and ends. I mean, the car leaves the screen at just a tiny bit, but so it's 2166. So this is the part which we have to rotoscope. So roto is a short version of rotoscoping. So here we can choose a couple of options when we see this overlay option, which means we see the alpha channel. So that is basically what we drew the mask, and we can use that mask to separate elements. So that is what we have right now. We can also hide the line, yeah, so we can turn on or off. As I mentioned, the problem here, because of the quality of the footage and also the quality of the camera itself has a lot of properties, how the camera creates, records images from the real life. We are aware of the notion of motion blur. So that means when something moves fast, it will be blurry. And inside, it's not a problem in terms of rotoscoping, but at the edges always cause issues what we have to solve somehow. So yeah, that is the first. So there are a couple of things what we have to deal with. Obviously, one is the animation. The edges, what else? Animation, the edges. Yeah, there are mask layers. So this is the body. You can call it body, car body, because it's a little bit easier to separate the wheels, I believe. So we can use other elements, not like this. I mean, we can use those elements as new layers as well. So car wheels. And the reason for that is actually it's just for simplicity, because we can use, like this, very easy deformations, very easy to select if it's on a different, different layer. Maybe it's more easy to adjust and so on. And because of the shape, maybe it's easier to, have the shape. You can use more than one shape in one layer, so it's not necessarily best what I'm showing you now, but I feel like it's better to handle this. And this part is not very interesting because, just this part. So like, yeah, and actually the shadow. The shadow is tricky because it is. I'm not sure because, it's obviously connects the object into the location, the background. That means we have to somehow replicate the shadow on the new background. So yeah, this is the car wheels, and there are another advantages. For example, you can turn on and off the selections. So you satisfied with one layer, you can turn off selectability of this. So again, we can use this mask display overlay, and now yeah, we can turn off lines. So this is the starting point. It's I believe it's not a big deal to create it. However, the motion blur part is the soft edges kind of so how to animate? There are a couple of ways. We are talking about keyframes, and in the real life there are also kind of keyframes what we can recognize. The reality is not about keyframes, but keyframes a tool to simplify movements of real things. So that's the logic behind find the right frames to roto. The shape of the car doesn't change that much frame by frame. Rather, we should find, kind of extremes. And obviously the last part, when it leaves the frame, the shape is very different because of perspective, and the same as at the beginning. So I believe we should create two keys, one from the beginning and one for the end. I mean when it's fully on screen, and we should just turn on auto keying. So that means when we move, that will create, maybe I have key, yeah. So create a key. You can use the key as a toolbar here, insert key. There is a shortcut which is I. You can recognize this thin line, and obviously it's not just transformations. You can see the sense of using a separate layer, so I can more easily select those. There's another selection method, select lint, which means the shape you can select with this Ctrl L and scale it down, scale it on X. You can restrict scale, S and X and something like this, and Ctrl L, scale, I hit S, and now move, and yeah, so that is the wheels, and now the car body. So Ctrl L here is working as well. I think I can just scale it, not Z, scale Y. Maybe it's just you can see here what I'm getting, scale Y. And there is a classy problem here because the shape changed a bit more. There is a new part, side mirrors, so we might have to have another object, but that means the other object has to be animated, something like this. And yeah, the first wheel also, it's and because of the, yeah, it's an interesting one because of the perspective. This wheel is might have to have more control points. I try to avoid adding new control points because the result would be kind of animation issue to animate those again backward from the previous keys. So you can see this is a good approach to have these type of streams. I think there is a keys somehow. I think dope sheet can show us the keys. Should show, yeah, but I'm not sure. But I'm not sure why it says no keyframe to jump this direction, which is a little bit of sad story because there is. The goal is to create an animation as few keys as we can. However, so as you see, I'm usually creating the base shape, transforming it, and after that, individual points. So yeah, we can add here another shape, something like this. You can use the 2D cursor, for example. If I'm using the 2D cursor and now scale Y, you can see restricted scale, and also it is based on the 2D cursor, which can help sometimes to have more specific transformation. And also this part, I'm not sure. So let's try it with again. Let's try with another shape, but on the carbon layer. So this should be something like this. Okay, and I'm not sure. I hope the animation is working. Okay, so here this is so I believe in Blender we can't turn off shapes, so we have to animate all the time, but it's not a very big deal. I'm just saying. So yeah, here and somewhere here. So that is the situation. Maybe we can look. Oh, so yeah, that is the other. This is the Control L and something like this. So yeah, you can imagine the workflow right now. So I'm going to fast forward it because there's nothing very specific more things what I can show you. However, there are a couple of interesting stuff ahead of us. Just want to create just another key at the end to see how it works. So this is 3 keys. Actually, here is continue with wheels. I think here, not sure which is which. So just place here. Scale X restricted. This is 3 keys. Actually, here is working. So jump. Arrow up and down, and the last key, I mean not last, but here this should be another one. So yeah, I start with the body and just place here. Scale X restricted scale, and I think this part should be just manually select those 2 points and make it place them somewhere here. And obviously we can't find the right place with the hard contour, so somewhere here, but it's not very important to be precise at the moment, because when the next thing I'm going to show you is the feather, called feather, which is for feathering. So which is for yeah, here maybe we should have another anyway. So part, because the silhouette here is now it's a little bit tricky, so maybe it's the free problem with this is because it's a hard edge right now, but I think the feather will solve or semi-solve problem. Also here there are a couple of details which is not help us, but anyway. So yeah, and let's start continue with wheels. I think here, not sure which is which, so we should check. So we lose that wheel here, so maybe just place somewhere here, and this is so you can see it's not a difficult task, but time consuming, and that's why AI stuff is it's hard to tell whether it's a blessing or curse, because obviously there are a lot of companies out there which is specified for rotoscoping, and there are a lot of people who earn decent money to live from rotoscoping. And if there will be so this is the social aspect, not the technological or economic aspect, but economy also involves social stuff, so it's a controversial topic. It's very blurry here again, but I think somewhere somewhere blurry, and obviously it's in shadows, so it's hard to read that contour. Where is the end of the okay, and this is the so yeah, that is the basic, and obviously I should adjust those keys. But right now I'm going to show you what is the situation here, because again, if I just turn on the overlay, you can see it's not, maybe it's if background. So also I'm not sure about background color, whether we can adjust view maybe here. Somewhere here, I think there's a color. It's adjustment somewhere. Maybe not. Okay. So I'm not. Yeah. So yeah, that is the obviously. So the feather, to get rid of this very sharp, very strict contour, we should use some sort of softening. And there is a built-in option for softening, which is the feather for feathering. And I'm not sure at the moment, so I'm going to find out how to feather the contour. So let's say I select all and feather, scale feather. I think this is it. So yeah, Alt S means somewhere here maybe. Anyway, Alt S for me it's okay. So that is kind of a scale of the contour. So you can see I hit Alt S, and this green line between them mask follows. So if you just say that not combine alpha channel, you can see there's the alpha. However, it's softer than before. If you don't believe me, you can try to make the feather more thick. We should have an option to scale it. I mean, we can't, actually I'm not sure, but we can scale individually. So that is the basics. I mean, the feathering stuff like this. Yeah. So yeah, and also the wheels should be feathered as well. It would be really nice to see, not because of the black against another color. It would be really nice to see on. Yeah, so yeah, maybe. Because the compositing is about that, and maybe that's the real reason to have the compositor here, because we can use not 3D layer, but we can use mask, and we can choose the mask and use the mask output with alpha over, for example, and okay, I can scroll the and white convert. Okay, the mask is the white color, so should be the factor maybe. Yeah. So white against I don't know, red maybe, and now it's better understanding of the color. Or we can use as well the footage, obviously movie clip. We call it movie clip, and now you can plug it here. So yeah, so that is a kind of real-time representation of the better, I would say better, but yeah, it would be nice just have, oh sorry, I deleted, so have an option to just have different color than black. Anyway, so I hope you have the idea, and image editor can also have the viewer, and maybe it's just simpler to have this image. So it's easier to understand like this what this is about. I mean, sorry, how soft the feather should be. If we just should be refreshing. It should be refreshing. Refresh. Interesting. Just check what happens if I reload. But I'm not sure how to refresh. Yeah, you can see here is calculating, but just set. Now it's refreshing. What about the image viewer? Image viewer is not refresh. Okay, so yeah, this is a so-called, it's an official fucked up situation when you just really don't forget to subscribe, because we need the money. More misleading content just for you. Fucked up situation. So I realized actually two major problems here. So that's why I don't create tutorials, because usually I experiment with the shots, actual projects, what I'm doing. There are a couple of features and techniques and tools in Blender in terms of rotoscoping. So for example, how we can adjust the feather, the softness of the edges. And also there is I think it's even a bigger problem, because I just realized as I moved on with the rotoscoping, the original footage has quite bad quality. So it's, you know, it's an HD compressed MP4 format recorded with this camera. So I wouldn't use live action footage, rather just kind of a stop motion type of images putting together to get the feeling of the continuous motion with moving the layer, the transformation, and also switching between, you know, keyframes. So it's a totally different technique, and I just referred to that at the beginning. So that would be an appropriate style of animation. Actually it's an animation, kind of a stop motion mixed animation with the layer animation, we can say that. So yeah, that is the second reason why I have to, you know, kind of restart the processes. However, I'm going to show you how we can use the rotoscoping even better. So the creative process is always not straightest forwardest, not the most straightforward way, straightest forwardest to do stuff. But I really enjoyed this process, so I hope you enjoyed it too. And let's see you again.